Okay. So yesterday we saw the about exceptions, right? How what are the different type of exceptions that are there, and how to use that. What is arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, and where what is the scenario it comes? What is the array out of bound exception? And we also saw like how to have nested exceptions, and we also saw how to have multiple catch blocks, and what is the exception hierarchy. If we use one hierarchy above in the first catch block, then it will not accept it, will throw a compile time error. Those things we saw. Okay. And we'll continue the same session now. Okay. We'll try to delete all these things. So what we saw yesterday is like try and catch, right? Catching the exception, right? We can also throw the exception. For example, I can say this particular method throws arithmetic exception. I can also throw an exception like that is also possible, right? For example, if you yesterday we saw some example, right? Red dot sleep. So if you do something like this, it will ask two things. Either you should have try catch, or you should throw the exception, right? So if I choose the option for throw, then that is also fine, right? So you can throw the exception also. So what I can do, this is so for throwing the exception in the method itself, you will say throws that exception name, right? That is how it works. For example, why I want to do every time, like for example, I'm testing divide by zero exception here, right? What is a general thing we'll try to do? We'll say a by b. So divided by zero, right? But why I have to every time try and catch the exception? Why can't I have some mechanism where I will validate this exception myself? You can do that also. For example, instead of this try catch block, what if I say if b is equal to zero, then I am itself throwing that exception. Throw new arithmetic exception with a custom message. Hey, variable b is zero. We'll try to run this. It's throwing, right? If you open the console, it is throwing the arithmetic exception. Now it's saying, hey, your variable b is zero. Now we will know for sure, okay, we have handled the exception even more nicely in our particular project. So this is also possible, right? We can throw the exception also. Seven got the point, right? Very few people are there. If you can respond, like it will be very
Karthik,
useful for me. Yes, Shiva.
with respect to throws, you have at the method level, you
Yes.
already mentioned the arithmetic exception, right?
Mhm.
right? Because we are using thread sleep, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I didn't.
Thread
So I
sleep,
meant to say like,
the interrupted exception is only for
yeah,
thread
yeah,
sleep. Yeah.
yeah. I was about to clear that actually. Yes.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So thread sleep, we are getting the interruption, and we have declared the arithmetic exception, right?
Yes, yes.
So do we still need to, at the method level we already declared that the arithmetic exception within the for loop you again throwing a new arithmetic, like, right? Do you
No,
think we need to do
this is only optional. Right?
that? Yeah, that's
Still,
optional.
uh-huh.
Yeah, but if we declare at the method level, do we need to declare again in the inside the functionality?
No, usually no. So when you declare at a method level, if some exception is caught, already it is throwing that exception only.
So in that case, like, in the if loop, okay,
Mhm.
you're throwing a new exception, right?
Mhm.
Creating an object for the like, throw new arithmetic exception,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Instead of that, if we declare it the throws at the method level, we don't need to do it here, right?
No, here you don't need to know. You're saying that.
Yeah, do we need to or we don't need to?
No, no. Anyway, if you do some operation like this, it will throw that exception only by default, whether you give
Yeah,
it or not. We'll
okay.
try to do that. Right. So it's throwing that exception. I'll remove this. Try to run. See. So irrespective of whether you give or not, this is the exception which is handled at the Java level itself. So it will throw. So what is the purpose of declaring something like this? Like we'll know for sure that particular method will definitely throw the arithmetic exception so that it will, can be better handled in the future.
Okay. Okay. But what's the difference? What could be the difference with the throws and the throw?
Throws is we are saying method throws this exception. Throw is like we are throwing our own exception. It's not just arithmetic exception. It can be any exception, right? It can be just an exception also. Can be a runtime exception also. Anytime, anything.
And what does the new here is doing?
New generally we use for what?
Creating an object
Yes,
instance.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So and generally it is used to call the constructor, right?
Is it to create an object, right?
Yeah, we are creating an object, but generally if you give new, we are calling the constructor of this runtime error exception only, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So if you go here, what it's happening, it is calling the runtime error exception, and we are calling its constructor only actually. What happens every time you call this constructor, there is something called super message line will be executed. What this does is like in super class is what runtime exception, and it extends runtime exception, and it in turn extends exception. So it will come until this, and the message will be printed here. Okay.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
So we can do this. So I can validate something like this also. So what I can do is like I can enclose this within try catch block also. I just cut this thing and paste it here. So what we are trying to do here is like if b is equal to 0, then we are throwing the exception, uh, but we are catching the exception immediately here. Okay? So let's see what is happening here. So if you are throwing an exception and you are catching the exception immediately within that block itself, then what happens? It will whatever exception you throw, it will be catch immediately there because you are surrounded that with a try catch. So that's a basic idea. If you're throwing the arithmetic exception, it is immediately caught here, and whatever you wanted to handle, you can handle in the catch block. So you should remember that if you are throwing exception, and if it is inside this try catch block, then it will always catch the exception. That's the main point. I
And
can.
one other thing, Karthik, at this
Yes,
point, uh, at the catch, like you have mentioned the arithmetic exception and right, and E as an instance, right?
he is the object.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. For the arithmetic, right? In case if there is a different kind of exception and you're trying to catch, like in the try catch, in the try, you're throwing an arithmetic exception, right?
Hmm.
But in case if in the catch, if you mention some other exception, how
Hmm.
does it handle?
No, it doesn't do anything. It's try to do that. We'll try to run this. So this block is not at all called, right? We are getting general arithmetic exception through this message. This block.
So it should match whenever we are throwing
Yes,
something,
yes, yes, yes.
it should be matched with a catch, right?
Or you can generally say exception.
Yeah. That's a generic for anything, right?
Yes, yes, yes. If you generally say exception, then it is caught. So exception is kind of a super class to every class. You can generally, if you don't know what is the thing which you're trying to catch, you can use exception always.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yes. And there is also a thing called a finally. Very, very useful block actually. Um, what I'll do is try to run this program. So finally, block is always executed irrespective of whether the exception is caught or not. We'll make this as one b as one actually. We'll not make as 0. We'll make as 1. We'll try to run this again. So the finally block is again run, even though exception is not caught. I'll show one use case of this finally block I have in this dev project actually. Wait. Okay. So what happens is like I'm having some operation here, right? It's in the try block, and I'm catching this exception here. Hey, something some wrong has happened. You got some things wrong here, like that. I'm catching the exception, but in the finally block, I'm trying to reset everything, right? So irrespective of whether this if condition is success, I mean this particular try is success or not, it will always go and execute this method, right? I have also another good use case. Mhm. Mhm. Okay, I don't know where that went. I just wanted to show you some other example actually. Okay, another good use case is like even in finally block you can have this try catch block. All right, that is also possible. So I'm reading the CSV file, I'm deleting it. I'm again catching the exception, right? If some problem happens in the delete, so that is also possible, right? So those are the main use cases of finally. Will be executed irrespective of whatever happens in the try catch. Right. What I will do, I'll just create one more thing to test this exception testing. More
Karthik,
class. Yes, Shiva.
uh, with respect to the finally block, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I read somewhere that the finally block is used to do the clean of the code or something to do with the cleaning, okay, cleaning process of the code or something, okay,
Okay.
right? What does it mean exactly? Because I just seen that you showed some implementation where it
Mm.
has a service dot reset. You're resetting it, right?
Okay.
Right.
It's
So
not necessarily cleaning actually. Like why people quote that example is like generally finally use block is mainly used in cleaning. It's not only for cleaning purpose. But why we are having something finally is like we are catching the exception, all right. But at the end of the, for example, if the B is static, assume that B is static. Um, oh, sorry, B should be here. Oh, let's declare 0 itself, 0. Let's not have it here. I'm trying to validate this. In finally block, what I can do, let's, okay, in catch block, what we'll try to do, we will try to make this b as 1, right? B is equal to 1 finally. So what I'll say is like, let's say we'll declare one more variable c. It's c, and I'm just saying c is equal to a by b. So if I'm expecting some answer, if I'm not getting that, probably I can do something in the finally. If c is not equal to some, let's say 7, then I can again throw an exception. It's kind of some random stuff which I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to say is like, you can do whatever you want with finally block. Generally, what they mean by cleanup is like, if you are having some driver instance in the finally block, you can close a driver instance. Or if you have opened an Excel file to read something, some exception has occurred, and in finally block, you can close that, irrespective of whatever happens, right? For example, if I'm trying to read a file and I'm having this try catch block, if the data enters into catch block, and then I'll not be able to properly close that file, right? File will be always remain open until the garbage collector comes and clean the code in our memory. So when I use finally, I can always go and close that particular file here. I can just say f dot close, right? So these kind of things only they mean by like cleaning up, but you can do whatever you want. I can just reset this c here. I can just reset the value of c here to some other variable. So like it's the options are unlimited actually. It's not necessarily for cleaning up. That's the point which I'm trying to make.
Okay, Karthik. Yeah.
And okay, maybe here actually we're not trying to clean up anything in this particular example. We are trying to uh, just delete that file from our memory, actually delete it from a file from the path. Maybe I'll show you a better example of a cleaning up. I was searching for that example only. The project is very huge. Mm, I'll try to get that. Mhm. Okay. This is a better example of cleaning up process actually. What we are trying to do, we are having this try block, we are having this finally block. Actually, we have catched some data in our memory, right? Catching process is something like we don't have to every time store the data in a database. Retrieving from the database is a very costly operation. For example, it will take some 300 400 milliseconds for an average data itself. What we are trying to achieve here is like to return a faster response to our browser. What we will try to do, we'll take the data from the database and usually put it in a RAM, right? To manage all these things, there is a framework called Redis, REDIS. If you people go and search, then actually it's kind of very interesting and useful framework to know. uh, what this Redis will do is like take whatever we asked it to take from the database and put it inside RAM. But there are certain scenarios where you have to update the database if there are changes to data. Right? At the same time, you have to update the RAM also, which is unnecessary. What happens if there is some update to a database? See, we are saving something right here. We're saving something here. We are updating something to a database. We don't want to have that in RAM because whatever copy we have in database will not be in the RAM. So both should match, right? So we are clearing whatever in the RAM in the finally block. Once all this done, if you go to this method, what it will do, it will uh, take the keys to be deleted, and it will clear everything from the RAM related to this particular save thing. Right? That is that is what we call as a cleaning up process. We want to do something to finally not have any mismatch between DB and our catch RAM, right? So it's one of the cleaning up process. Fine. Shiva.
Yeah, Karthik, thanks.
Okay. And
Karthik, I have a question here, actually.
yes,
So
sir.
suppose there is a function
Okay.
which is not comes declared under try catch, and suppose that function throws an exception.
Yes.
Till the finally block will get executed.
Yes, it will get executed. No, try final block will always come with a try block only, right? What I'm
Okay.
trying to say is like you cannot have a catch block. That's a different story. See, you don't have a catch block here. But once you use try, once you wanted to use finally, you should always have a try, right?
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I thought the final method. I got
Okay,
confused.
okay. This is finally actually. Like finally is a key, another keyword in Java. Final and finally are different. Okay, I don't
Right.
want to confuse.
Right.
Okay, so when we use final methods, we cannot override it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you use final objects, I
Mm-hmm.
can declare this final also, right?
Right.
I cannot change its value. So it's a B block. If this valuation itself becomes useless because it's not going to change anytime if B is already 0.
Yeah.
So I cannot go and change B here. Let's try to change B. So it's throwing an error, right? What error? Final exception. B value cannot be assigned. Remove final
Yes.
modifier. So that is final. Finally is different. Finally is like execute everything after finally, like that we are saying to the code.
Okay. And it doesn't depend on the try catch block. I can normally declare also.
No,
Or
no, 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 no.
try catch.
So if you normally declare like that, it will throw an error, right? So you
Can
have
I
to
come on
have.
that?
Sorry.
No, actually, I thought I'll help in clarifying it.
No, no, no. You have to use finally with try block or try catch block.
Okay.
You cannot just use one because what it is expecting as finally you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Simply it cannot go and execute this block, right? Finally is what finally we should do something based upon something, right? Simply we declare finally doesn't make any sense for the code, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. We have to match it with a try block. So now that error is gone. Either you have to match it with a try block or try catch block. So now I'm saying to the Java, hey, try this. If nothing is working out or not working out, irrespective of whatever it is, finally do something. Because if we simply use finally, the program is confused. The Java is confused. What it is asking us to do finally, based on what like that the Java will ask us. Fine, Saga.
Yes, yes, right. Good.
We have a new class called test exception with the main method. We'll try to delete this also. Try to remove this also. Let's say I have a method which accepts an argument, public int, let's say test data, getting one argument as integer, int b. Okay. So we don't have to necessarily declare in that in the main method. I'm having this particular method called test data. I'm checking for this b by getting as an argument. If b is equal 0, then throw arithmetic exception, also or return b, right? So what we'll do, we'll try to test this from here. To test this, we have to create a object for this exception testing, right? Or let's say you're creating this object from another method itself. Test. So if I do something like this, and our ID itself will provide an option to create a method for us, to create a static method for us. So what I'll try to do, I'll just create an object here. I'll also do one more thing here. I'll also throw this arithmetic exception. If I try to run this, so we are getting the expected value, expected output, right? And we'll try to declare some other thing. Okay, we are not printing anything. So 4 is printed. So not necessarily has to be in a main method. You can create a separate method to test all these things. And generally, in our Selenium also we do something like this. Maybe I'll show that every time we check for some condition and then only we go and do some operations over that. It's kind of very annoying process only actually, because every time you have to check for an element. Okay. By default, this what it will do if that particular way, every time you want to do some operation or click on element or get text or set some value to a form field, every time you have to wait for this timeout and find this element, and we are saying is enabled, right? Is enabled or is displayed, so like here. So every time we are doing something like this, then only we are saying, hey, if it's enabled, then click it. Then again, if you click it and send keys of something and like that, right? So every time we are doing something like this only.
Yes.
So here what we are trying to do is like we are throwing an exception, right? So what we are trying to do, we are finding whether that particular element is there or not after waiting for a certain number of seconds. It's displayed or not. If it is displayed, then send keys to the particular element, else throw no such element exception.
Well, in that case, can we do one thing? Like, if we use, okay, I will say later. Please continue.
Karthik?
No, ask Sagar.
Yeah. Oh, actually, someone is saying something.
Okay, Shiva.
No, Sagar, you can finish it, or I can raise the question. Yeah.
You can raise the question because it will take
Okay.
time.
Yeah, thanks, Sagar. 1 second. I'll just quickly finish it. Um, Karthik, here we are throwing the exception, right? No such element exception, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking where you're catching it?
No, it don't necessarily we have to catch it. This throw element exception error is provided by no such element exception provided by Selenium.
Right. Okay.
What we are trying to do when we are catching it, if I am using a try catch block, something like this.
No, now I understood. Yeah, no. It's clear. You can
Clear it. Then I can catch an exception here itself, and then I can do some things over it. Right?
No, I understood because it's already the no such element is already having a method which is already printing it. So you're just throwing a message here and you're catching there, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
So this custom message will help us to understand, okay, what exactly went wrong there. Because whatever message we give here in this argument only will print in the console or in the logs. Then we'll know for sure this is the thing which went wrong actually. And if you want to do something like this, you can always encapsulate this within a try catch block, and in the catch you can do whatever you want. Again, you also have an option for finally. Is it okay, Shiva?
Yeah, Karthik. Now it's clear. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Sagar, you were asking something.
Yeah, so I have found one difference. I did not find the difference between no such element exceptions because Selenium has itself has no such element exception and Java also has no such element exception.
Okay.
So could you tell me that what is the basic difference of it? Because sometimes it is catching some no such element exception for of Selenium, sometimes it's catching for Java. No such
No,
element.
it shouldn't do, because this no such element exception, it's explicitly you're mentioning it from the Selenium project, right? And you are importing that project only. right?
Right.
Yeah.
So now if you write no such element exception in throws somewhere else, you can write. So you will find two no such element exceptions,
Right.
one from Java and another from.
With my understanding, I guess like it should be the import what we are using, I guess. The import,
No.
whatever we are trying to import.
That is one thing, but where no such element exception is there in Java? I don't see that.
The second one.
Okay,
This is
Java
Java
util.
util, yes, Java util.
Okay. So it also depends upon, like as Shiva said, what you're trying to import, right? So if you're importing proper class, it should throw no such element exception for Selenium only. Because
But Java has by default, we need util package because.
yes. Actually, there are many cases where you have multiple libraries, multiple classes are there actually.
Right.
Yeah, multiple classes are repeated in many libraries. For example, if I wanted to show one example,
actually, the challenge is I'm not able to get actually exactly that where this no such element exception from Java util is getting used.
No, it shouldn't. If you import the no such element from Selenium, the Java one shouldn't execute.
Right.
Depends upon import only. Maybe I'll try to show that.
Actually, I was asked in in an interview that what is the difference, but I couldn't say.
SQL date and you have this java.util.date. Always it will be always mapped to what class you import. Sagar. So if I wanted to have this java.util.date, it's always imported from there only. If you go
Sagar has dropped off, I think.
Okay. For others also, this is the only thing. Whatever you import, that package only will be utilized. Okay. One more thing which I wanted to show is here is like we can create our own exceptions, right? Instead of relying on exceptions which are given by Java or your Selenium framework, why can't we are going to create our own automation framework, right? Why can't we have our own exceptions for our framework? We can also do that. It's very simple to do actually. Let's create one class. Let's name this as Selenium demo exception. This kind of name, arbitrary name, which I am only giving here. I'll just click finish. What is the only thing which I wanted to do is like I have to extend whatever class I have created with the exception class, right? And what I want to do, I have to create a constructor for this. How will you create a constructor? Public with a message, with a single argument called message, and you have to just do super. Right? We'll come to this. What is this serial version UID? But understand this is enough for you to create your own custom exception. You can do whatever, you can play with it. For example, if I don't wanted to do this arithmetic exception, I can do this Selenium demo exception. Right? I'll test this. So once you have declared your own exception, it is explicitly asking us to throw the exception, right? We'll come to this little later, but understand that this is also possible. We have to throw this exception in whatever method call that is happening. We'll try to run this program. If it is 0, it will throw Selenium demo exception, right? So we'll try to make this as 0. We'll try to run it. So it's throwing an exception, right? It is throwing the exception which we created. it is not something which came from Java or Selenium demo exception, value got to 0. So we can throw our own exceptions also. Here, since we are throwing this exception, like it is explicitly asking us to either surround it with try catch, or at the method level, you should throw the exception for which you have created. So for all the methods that is called where the exception is thrown, you should throw the exception there also, because exception is caught here, you have to throw here. Again, this particular method is called here. Here also exception will be caught. Again, you have to throw this exception in the main class. So this propagates for backward wherever this method is called. That's one important thing which you have to remember for the exceptions that we are creating. Right. So similarly, I can go and create a number of exceptions like this. I can create my example exception, test exception, whatever exception I want to create, illegal framework exception. I can create my own exception also. So that is also one thing which I wanted to share. This is more than enough. This code is more than enough to create our own exception. Right. So we'll stop with this. Anyone has any other question?
Okay.
Okay. So we'll continue to have these kind of discussions. Maybe it will help other people also, this interview experience or whatever knowledge you wanted to share, we can share also in this platform. Right. In future, I think it will be helping for everyone. It will be helpful for everyone. Thanks everyone for the wonderful session.